Hey, how's it going? So, welcome to this new podcast. Well, we'll talk about the podcast. The title is Puro Tech. If you read that or say that fast enough, it's Puro Tech. Puro Tech. Anyway, we can't think of anything, and well, that's the best name we've got right now, and I think we'll stick with it. Puro Tech, of course, means all tech, nothing but tech, something like that. And of course, our first agenda for this maiden episode is we'll talk about the podcast. So we've talked about the name Puro Tech, Puro Tech, Puro Tech, Puro Tech. Okay. Anyway, and then we'll talk about the podcast structure. I'm Filipino, by the way, so English is not my first language. And actually, we'll talk in Filipino or Tagalog. We'll use some Filipino English words here and there. We'll talk about the podcast structure. Basically, it should have 6 parts. So the first part is what we call the Anong Tech Mo segment. Anong Tech Mo. So usually we'll have guests, but for this maiden episode, we'll answer that question ourselves. Myself first. Anong Tech Mo? So Anong Tech Ko? More specifically, I'll talk about my current tech and past and future tech. The next part, second part, is the Basa segment, where we talk about the latest relevant tech news that we've recently read or heard from international tech podcasts. In this episode, we'll talk about Kodak's financial problems and the upcoming 2012 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And then the next part is the Cheese Miss. Yes, it's Cheese Miss. That's CHEESEMISS, or Kesong Binibini in Tagalog. So there, obviously, Cheese Miss sounds like Cheese Miss. We'll talk about tech rumors. In this episode, we talk very briefly about a few Apple rumors for this year. There's the revived iPhone 5 rumors, an iPad 3 and iPad 4 rumors, and an Apple iTV rumor. Being in January, the start of a new year, and in fact, it's a new year both this January, both in the what I would call the international calendar. People would say it's the Western calendar, or maybe, I don't know, Gregorian calendar, and also in the lunar calendar, of course, or also, of course, it's also called the Chinese calendar, which New Year's Day is January 24, I believe. So it's a new year. We talk about our tech predictions for 2012 in light of what has happened in 2011. So that's the third part of the show. The fourth part will just feature a video, a cool or funny video. We call that segment Panoorin Mo To. And today we'll feature something that's probably kind of gas already, just because, well, we can't find anything new and cool right now. But yeah. And the last 2 parts of the show are called the helpline and the buzzline. So the helpline is where we'll give you tips, or where we'll answer your tech-related questions, so be it related to your computers, Windows, Mac OS, your buying tips, which tech to buy, Gadgets, of course, smartphones, iPhone, iOS, or Android, tablets. Well, I don't know much about GPS and stuff. I don't know much about TV. Basically, I'm a cable cutter right now, cord cutter, but it's more of a financial thing, actually. So, and the very last part is the buzz line. So, any of your phone calls or voicemails, emails, video voicemails where you talk about yourself. Maybe you answer the question "Anong tech mo?" by yourself. You have some comments about the podcasts, the episodes, what we talk about here. Yeah, and you have your own opinions. We could feature those. Basically, those emails, voicemails, and video voicemails from you on the buzz line. So, without further ado, we continue on. So, basically, you can get a picture of what are the aims of the podcast. We'll talk about what people use, what kind of tech people use, different kinds of people. We'll start off today with what kind of tech I use, and so that's the Anong Tech Mo segment. Then for the Basa segment, we'll talk about news, give our opinions about those news items, and so on. And then the Chismis, which is explanatory. And then the Panoorin Mo To segment, cool or funny video, and then finally the helpline and the buzzline segments. To give you some tips, some tech help, and to feature your own voice on this podcast, the Puro Tech podcast. And obviously, the podcast title, Puro Tech, is half Filipino. Of course, tech doesn't really have a Tagalog word. But basically, our target audience are Filipinos all over the world, and that's mostly because, it's sort of to fill a need. I'm a Filipino. I'm based here in Japan right now. TV here is quite expensive. To buy a TV, because now it's all digital here in Japan. No more analog TV like we have in the Philippines. So digital TV, to buy a digital television is itself expensive. Plus here, the system is quite different. In the Philippines, we have free TV. As long as you have a TV, you get to watch ABS-CBN and GMA and all those network shows. Here, we have to pay a monthly fee just to watch NHK and all of that. And it's around 1,000 pesos. 2,000 yen. So you can imagine it's a lot. That's much more than cable TV, in fact, in the Philippines. But of course, everything is expensive here in Japan. I'm here in Japan. I don't have TV. I only have the internet. It's 5,000 yen a month or 6,000 yen a month. Unlimited, very fast, very good. I'm very satisfied. That's around 3,000 pesos a month. But, so my only source for television and even radio is the internet. So I'm glad that, for example, Magic 89.9 is radio, is what I listen to most of the time, particularly when Mo Twister was still there. And I was driving on my way to work. So I listened to, 89.9 basically. I also listened to the are they their names? What's their name? As a group, the Boys Night Out. Almost forgot. Actually now I don't get to listen to Magic 89.9, mostly because I now listen to podcasts And I think podcasts are the future. You can listen to your favorite show when you want it, when you're free, when you have the time, as opposed to radio. You just listen to what's showing basically, and they don't usually have reruns on radio. So I mean that's a different audience basically, but yeah. So that's why I'm also doing this podcast. So I'm a Filipino here in Japan. Yeah, I've for all other Filipinos in other countries or in Japan as well. I know you're looking for entertainment, and here it is. Well, I don't know if this is entertaining enough, but this is just one example. Of course, all of you, I encourage you. That's what the internet is for. If you can, if you have the time, make your own podcasts, publish it. Uh, there's no guarantee of money, but well, I listened to this other podcast, the 404, and one of their podcasts they said, "Don't do anything for free." I mean, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. So, well, I'm not saying I'm good at this. I think I'm good enough, or just fine. But yeah. Anyway, do your thing. Uh, so yeah, yeah. So of course, this is also for our fellow Filipinos in the Philippines. Uh, we'll use a lot of Filipino Tagalog, as I said, Filipino or Tagalog. I'm sorry, I don't know much Bisaya or Ilocano or Kapampangan and so on, Hiligaynon. Uh, but yeah, it will be in Filipino Tagalog mostly, with some English, and more specifically Filipino English. Of course, our kind of English is a little bit different from American English or from British English or even from Singaporean English, Japanese English. There's all sorts of different kinds of English in the world. And lastly, I would just like to mention for this brief and well, not so brief anymore, but for this introduction about the show, I would rate this show PG-13. Well, yeah. Um, anyway, so we go on to the official first segment of the very first episode of our Puro Tech show, Puro Tech podcast. So I answered the question, Anong tech mo? So usually we'll have guests and we ask this question to our guests. But now I'll answer that question, and my answer to that is basically for cell phone. Here in Japan, I have an iPhone 4. Why iPhone 4? Well, basically, when I first got here, I got the cheapest phone. It was 0 yen phone, and I was paying 150, approximately 200 pesos a month for practically unlimited calls to the same network, SoftBank by the way, unlimited calls and texts. So I mean that's great, right? 200 pesos per month for unlimited. I mean, not even in the Philippines we can have that anymore. But of course, this is SoftBank. This is the third, maybe just the third or fourth largest network here. So they're equivalent to Sun, well, basically, except they have iPhone exclusivity. Well, at least until the iPhone 4S came out. Basically, I had the cheapest phone first, 0 yen phone, and I was just paying 200 yen a month, but that's mostly because I was a student. There was a student discount at that time. I'm locked into a 2-year contract, and then I lost that phone. I left it accidentally at the airport, and so for a week or two I didn't have a phone. I decided I should get a new phone. I was deciding between an Android phone or maybe a Nokia phone or an iPhone. At that time, this was around October last year. That time it was the iPhone 4. Of course, I could also get the iPhone 3G. Basically, I don't know why. Well, the people I asked who owned an iPhone before said, "Yeah, iPhone's great." My my concern was I've never really used a touchscreen phone, or a touchscreen device. I've used a touchscreen device. My previous phone was a Samsung Omnia, for which you needed to use a stylus, although I also used my fingers, and the experience just wasn't great. I mean, yeah, it was running Windows Mobile 6 or 6.5 maybe, and it just wasn't great. So finally, I decided on an iPhone 4, and I guess, and I'm a satisfied customer. It had a 5 megapixel camera, Retina display. The display is just great. Um, just the camera itself, I think, is one of the biggest selling points of this thing. Of course, I like the design, at least visually. I mean, from the outside, I like the design of the iPhone more than any of the Android phones that was out there back. More than a year ago in 2010. Um, of course, there was also the antenna gate problem, so I had to research about that. Is it really a problem? And it turns out it's not really a problem. Apple sort of fixed it with a software update. I don't know. I don't know how a software update. I'm not sure how that software update settled the problem. I think it just made it cosmetically better. But anyway, I've never really had a problem, with the signal. Although I should mention that, when I switched to the iPhone, uh, now there's what do you call this? I mean, you have to pay. There's a different rate. So now I'm paying like 1,500 yen per month. That's inclusive of the student discount. That's inclusive of the payment for the phone, installment for the phone, and the internet access. Now, if I use the internet a lot, I would pay no more than 3,000 pesos a month, approximately. So that's still quite cheap. And the speeds here, I mean, Japan was the first country, I believe, to have 3G. So the internet speeds are quite good. 3,000 pesos a month, including the phone, for 2 years contract. Not bad. Way to go, SoftBank. Thank you. Um, so, yeah, well, it's great. Uh, yeah, it's great. What can I say? What else can I say? Now, I should also mention, so that's for my Japan phone. I had to get a Japan line because, of course, roaming is expensive. I do have a Globe account that I've had since maybe 2000, 2001. I never wanted to lose that number. Um, so, as I said, I previously had a Samsung Omnia. Very bad experience. I mean, Samsung, why would you come out with a very bad product that people, or maybe that you touted to be an iPhone killer? Definitely not. Uh, I mean, maybe it's Windows Mobile, but it was Samsung's decision to use Windows Mobile. So anyway, so it was a pain to use, and so for my Globe phone for roaming, I got this Nokia C5. It's basically the classic. It's not a touchscreen phone. It has the numeric keypad, standard numeric keypad. Of course, all Filipinos know Nokia. We love Nokia. It's the best for texting and just phone calls. So this does it for me. It has a couple of applications in here, a couple of games that are not bad. I mean, considering they're free. This was quite expensive though. I think it might be 6,000 to 8,000 pesos. I forgot. I mean, considering that now there's the Samsung Galaxy Y that's just around 6,000 pesos as well, this was quite expensive. But it's a 3G phone, so basically it also works in Japan. Samsung Omnia also works in Japan. That's good. I'm able to roam. I'm able to receive text messages. I can make phone calls, of course, at a slightly higher rate. It's great. When I go to the Philippines, go back or go visit the Philippines. This is my primary phone, primarily for security purposes. Of course, I take the public transportation also, bus, trains, jeepneys, tricycle, and I don't want to be carrying around an iPhone. So this is my primary phone. When I'm in the Philippines, my iPhone becomes an iPod Touch with GPS. So yeah, yeah. That's whoa. We're already 21 minutes in. So that's me. I also have a MacBook Air 11-inch 2011, mid 2011. I love it. That's what I'm using right now. Right now I'm using Moso to record this video. Uh, uh, what else? I also previously owned a MacBook Pro 13-inch 2009 with Leopard Snow, upgraded to Snow Leopard. Of course, this MacBook Air I'm using right now has Lion, Mac OS 10 Lion. And yeah, that's it. What other tech do I have? Well, at the office, I have a Windows machine, of course. Uh, no choice. It's quite slow now, but because I've installed a lot of things on it, um, and a lot of an engineer, civil engineer. So a lot of programs that I use are available only on Windows. So that's why I use Windows. That's why we use Windows at the office. Actually, I'm an engineering student right now, to be more exact. Uh, what else? Yeah, previously I owned a compact Presario that was 2005. It was widescreen. I bought it because it looked like the MacBook Pro. Basically, I've been a frustrated Mac owner ever since. I mean, I've never owned a Mac, and I'm frustrated that I have never owned a Mac until I got my MacBook Pro last year, which was a year-old model and was quite cheap. It was new, but it was an old model, quite cheap. And yeah, that's all I should mention for now. So I hope you can send us emails and voicemails or video voicemails. You can send us emails at for now me at RONJIE.com. That's me at RONJIE.com. Yeah, let us know, what do you do, and what kind of tech do you use, and how do you use it. If possible, please limit the voicemails and video voicemails to 30 seconds. Okay, we will most probably not entertain video or voicemails that are longer than 30 seconds, 45 seconds maybe. Yeah, and of course, there's no guarantee we'll read or feature all of your emails and voicemails and video voicemails. So, but please, yeah, we'd like to hear what you use, what kind of tech you use, anong tech mo, and anong tech nyo po. Okay, let's go to the next segment, the Basa segment. Basa. First, well, it's kind of big news. Kodak appears to be headed into bankruptcy. Very sad, of course. Kodak was, we all know Kodak, even in Filipino English. or maybe now we could say in Filipino, we use Kodak to mean, to take pictures. I mean, Kodak is synonymous with taking photos. I mean, at least to us Filipinos. Oh, paki-Kodak nga ito. O, paki-Kodak nga kami. Kodakin. Ano ba yung nakalimutan ko na? I forgot. But anyway, yeah, so they're filing. Apparently, they're headed for bankruptcy. They're doing stuff. They're selling, or they have sold off some of their businesses to get more funding or money, whatever. And yeah, it's very sad. Kodak, of course, is we also know them for their films and film cameras. Although maybe people don't know this. I mean, a lot of people probably don't know it, but Kodak was actually one of the first to. Ooh, what's wrong? There you go. Kodak was actually one of the first to have a digital camera, but it didn't catch on. People didn't buy it. People didn't use it so much, and of course, Nikon and Canon and what else? I don't know. Sony. Basically, these Japanese companies started making better and better products faster than Kodak can, and basically Kodak is starting to become irrelevant. Basically, that's really sad. I hope someone. I think they might be open for acquisition. I hope that happens and they get taken care of. I mean, it's sad to hear Kodak go. Of course, they're here. They're still here. They're just not so relevant anymore. Oh, Samsung, of course, is another big player now in electronics. One of the last few Kodak products I've ever used was probably Kodak Gallery at kodakgallery.com. It's basically like a photo sharing site, and from where you can easily order a few other things like mugs and calendars, maybe with your photos on them. Anyway, so that's it. Speaking of electronics, our next tech news that we've been reading a lot about lately is the upcoming Consumer Electronics Show next week in Las Vegas, Nevada. And so that's the 2012 edition. The Consumer Electronics Show, or CES for short, started in 2004. It's actually sort of a continuation of Comdex. I don't know if you've heard about Comdex, or if you remember Comdex. Comdex is the computer dealers exhibition. So it was mostly computers. Basically, it ran from 1979 to 2003. It was also held in Nevada. So it stopped, and then 2004 the CES started, and it's not just about computers anymore. It's basically tech related. So consumer electronics, obviously. It's sponsored or organized by the Consumer Electronics Association. So it's basically an American group. The big news so far for this new for the 2012 edition is Microsoft is announced it's pulling out of CES. So this 2012 there will be a keynote speech from, I think, from Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer, but they have already announced that this is their last CES. They're gonna do their own shows, a la Apple. I think I mean Apple. I mean Apple used. I mean Steve Jobs used to give keynote speeches. For example, at the MacWorld event, that's also around January, I think. But Apple pulled out of MacWorld, and then instead they decided it's better if they have their own event that they themselves organized, and so that way they get control over the whole show. And I think that's what Microsoft wants, and they see it as a good strategy, and they're taking a page out of Apple's book. Yeah, good for Microsoft, but and maybe also it's Microsoft has probably started to become relevant in the whole CES picture. Anyway, that's the news for 2012. Just to mention, 2011, there were many tablets introduced, such as the Motorola Zoom, and which won Best of Show, Best of CES. Of course, anyway, it flopped eventually. There was also a lot of 4G phones like the HTC Thunderbolt, Motorola Droid Bionic, and so on, which are also flops mostly. So this time around, the expectations are that, of course, the tablets came out in last year's CES, because, or maybe you can attribute it to the launch of the iPad in 2010. And of course, 2011, all these tablets were announced, but at the same time, in January 2011, at Apple's own event, they announced the iPad 2, which probably killed it for all these new tablets from last year. Oh, there was also the HP Playbook and the BlackBerry. Oh, I think I got it mixed. Well, anyway, the HP tablet and the BlackBerry Playbook, I think. I forgot already the HP tablet. Anyway, running WebOS, which... Oh, I forgot to mention, I used to have been using a Palm product. So I started with Palm 5X in 2000, I think. Yeah, 2000. Up until I had an iPhone, I was using a Palm TX. I've been a Palm user since then. I think it was a natural transition to the iPhone 4. That's one of the reasons why I think I felt more at home or more comfortable with the iPhone 4, or with the iPhone in general. Anyway, so that's 2011. Tablets and 4G phones, although, I mean, the CES, 2011 CES, but after that there wasn't really much hype about those tablets and 4G phones. Of course, the Samsung Galaxy Prime came out. Galaxy Nexus Prime. Galaxy Nexus? Yeah, Galaxy Nexus. Which was not announced in CES, I believe. But, I mean, that's the big news of 2011 in terms of 4G phones, Android phones, big phones. And in terms of tablet, I guess the Amazon Kindle Fire was the big name in tablets outside of the iPad tablet lineup. 3D was also a big thing back in 2011, although 3D was a flop. I mean, there was excitement about 3D because of what's that movie? The Blue People? Oh, I forgot. Anyway, for this year, Avatar, yeah. I forgot. This year, The big news is probably more Ultrabooks. Ultrabooks are basically Windows versions, Wintel versions, Windows with Intel processors uh, of the MacBook Airs. Very thin, very light. Uh, Usually no optical drive, no CD-ROM, DVD, CD, DVD, or Blu-ray drive. So that's Steve Jobs said in his keynote when he introduced the MacBook Air. He said, "This is we believe." I think this was back in June 2000. He said it. They believe it was the future of laptops, and turns out it's coming true. And yeah, I think that's those are two big news for the 2012 CES. New Ultrabook announcements, a lot of them, and Microsoft pulling out of CES. Uh, and Now we move on to Cheese Miss, where we talk about what else but gossips, rumors. If you've been following rumors closely, last year there were iPhone 5 rumors that were rumored to come out in October, but the iPhone 4S came out instead. Now the iPhone 5 rumors are back. Well, yeah, what can you expect? It's rumored to be thinner, lighter, has a bigger screen. There are iPhone 5 mock-ups, concept images out on the internet. If you just search for iPhone 5 rumors on Google and then click the images tab on the left, you can get a preview of what iPhone 5s might look like. I mean, the iPhone 5 might look like. My best, yeah, we'll talk about rumors, and then at the same time as I'll talk about my predictions. My prediction is it won't be called an iPhone 5. If so, it will only be called a new iPhone. It won't be called an iPhone 4S, iPhone 4 or 4S anymore. If it has a new form factor, definitely. So if it has a new form factor, I think it might be called iPhone 6, because technically that's what it is. It's the 6th generation iPhone. You know, just as the 2nd generation iPhone was called iPhone 3G. The 3rd generation was called iPhone 3GS. So it was iPhone 3G and then some. And then there was iPhone 4, which was the 4th generation. iPhone 4S was the 5th generation, so I think it will be called iPhone 6. Now, I don't know if Apple would want to call it iPhone 6. I mean, if it's again, if it has a brand new form factor, I think they might call it. I think they might start to call their products just iPhone and iPad. I mean, can you imagine iPhone? Let's say iPhone 23. That's not going to happen. I think they'll just call it iPhone, and then just associate the release date with it, just as the MacBook line, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini. They're associated with their release date, month and year. So I think that's the future for at least the naming of the iPhone, if it has a new form factor. Now, there are rumors that it could be called, the next iPhone might be the iPhone 4GS, which is possible, but I think that will frustrate a lot of people because it will be called an iPhone 4GS because it will have 4G, but at the same time it will look the same as the iPhone 4 and iPhone 4S. I think they won't do that. I think they will go 4G with a brand new form factor, and they won't call it iPhone 5. They'll just probably call it iPhone, and they will be What do you call that? Uh, yeah, what was I saying? I forgot. iPhone 5. No, not iPhone 5. It will have 4G. Anyway, oh, I think form factor wise, it will have an aluminum backing. It will look like the iPad, except it's smaller and thinner. It's more beautiful. It's pretty. It's nice to hold in the hand. It's still going to have 3.5-inch screen. That's my prediction. It will, of course, still have the Retina display. Uh, it will still have maybe an 8 megapixel camera, but there's got to be an improvement to the camera. Basically, it might be just the front-facing camera that will have an improvement. Uh, it will look like like I said, a smaller iPad 2, much smaller iPad 2, or I think it will look like the iMac without the stand, except it's that small. Um, Everything else will be the same. It will come out with iOS 5, but iOS 6 will also come out this year. I don't know what new they can bring to iOS 6 actually, except that iOS 6, I think, will be coming out together with a brand new Apple television. Not a television set-top box like the Apple TV right now. I think they might call it the iTV. It will be, 32 inches to 50, 55 inches. There'll be a number of sizes there. Um, iPhone, iTV. I'm not even sure if they'll call it iTV, but because the Apple TV used to be known as iTV. But of course, iPhone is a phone, iOS phone. iPad is a pad-like thing, tablet. That iOS tablet, so it's iPad. Should have been iTab, but I think iPad sounds better. Uh, iTV, yeah, it's an iOS TV. That's what I think, and my prediction is that's the rumor. Okay, there's not much details yet, except people have said there's already a 50-inch TV prototype in Joni Ives' workshop, top secret workshop at Apple headquarters. I think it Apple will come out with a touchscreen TV. They will have maybe like I don't know, 14-inch TV. It's thin. It's like a big tablet, but it's intended to be a TV that you can hold by yourself. Enjoy TV. It will have some sort of dock you can put it into and watch it like a TV with a distance. And then, but if you hold it near you, you can, control it, swipe through it and stuff. It's basically iOS, and I think it's iOS 6. Um, but if the larger versions are touchscreen, you could put them on the table, a la Microsoft table. I don't know why Microsoft doesn't have that yet. But anyway, it's gonna be. You could put it on the larger screens are big. They can be carried by one person. You could put them on the table, swipe through the menus, and then there'll be some sort of mechanism so that you can watch it. I mean, it will be in a vertical position. You can watch it from afar. I think that's the future of televisions. At least the next generation televisions, touch screen televisions, and of course iOS 6 has Siri out of beta, and you can also control your television by voice. I think you can also control your television using an iPad or an iPhone app. Maybe there's sort of AirPlay. You can use the iPad as a keyboard. You're watching television. If you don't have an iPad, you can use the television itself, bring it up to you, and type on it and whatever. So that's it. Yeah, that's iTV. Now, in terms of iPad, I think there will be an iPad 3. Again, iPad 3 as a name is fine. It might be iPad 2S. Who knows? I think Apple could start a 2-year cycle on the iPad. Uh, but at the same time, if it was an iPad 3, it should have a new form factor. But at the same time, like I said, they might just call it an iPad 2012 model. What's new with the iPad? Well, better cameras, better display. They'll still have the iPad 2 and maybe the iPad 1 at cheaper prices to compete with Amazon's Kindle Fire, uh, which has sold a lot because of course, just the $200 price point as opposed to $500, $600 for the iPad. Um, yeah, well, yeah, basically that's it. That's all that I can say that I can think of or predict for 2012, and that's all just Apple products. I do think Apple could also make a 7-inch tablet, but they're not going to call it a tablet. They're not going to call it an iPad or an iPad mini. iPad mini. I think they're going to call it iBook, and it's specifically for reading. And that is what's going to compete with Amazon Kindle Fire. It makes sense if you ask me. Of course, I said it, so if you ask me, it makes sense. But yeah, imagine it. iBook, 7-inch or maybe 6-inch tablet, e-reader actually. I think it will be in color because a lot of books on iBooks are in color. Uh, I think you can also read news on it, watch videos, look at photos, browse the web. But it is going to be a very light, like it's like an underpowered, a smaller iPad, similar to the Kindle Fire. That's what basically it is. It's a different category altogether. But this one's going to look prettier, going to be more responsive, and just it's going to be better than the Amazon Kindle Fire, and it's going to compete with the Amazon Kindle Fire. I mean, I think, man, that would be just great. I mean, although, yeah, I mean, e-ink, of course. I mean, Amazon Kindle, not the Kindle Fire, is great. All those e-book readers, e-ink, e-readers are great. I don't know if Apple would want an e-ink. I mean, for reading, e-ink is just really great. But as I said, Apple has color and interactive books on its iBook store. So I think, yeah, they won't do e-ink, but it would just be great to have a 7-inch reader. I don't need to play games on it. It doesn't have to have a very strong processor to play games. It's just for reading, mostly, including news reading at least, and a little bit of videos maybe. So that's it. That's what else? Yikes, we're already at 48 minutes. I didn't think it would be this long. I have too much to say. Of course, in terms of phones, I think Samsung will have, I forgot to mention, I won a Samsung Galaxy Y. That's called the Samsung Galaxy Ace Plus in the US. It's a small phone, relatively affordable, low resolution, low res display, low res camera, but it's great. If you just, I mean, if I was in the Philippines and I can't afford an iPhone, I would buy Samsung Galaxy Y, and people, of course, it looks like the iPhone 3G, as people have pointed out on the internet, but I mean, it's good enough. I mean, it's not the fastest processor. Like Angry Birds sometimes slows down a little bit, but I mean, that's the price you pay. It's just 6,000 pesos or 6,500 pesos. It's great for that price. That's what I'm saying. I think so. I'm thinking Samsung phones, the higher end phones, might be just as good as well. Unfortunately, I haven't tried them. I have tried a Toshiba Android phone, and it sucks. I don't know why they make these kinds of phones that are not so responsive, but they sell, and they're probably cheaper than the iPhone, so they sell. But anyway, what else? Yeah, I think Samsung will come out with a few new phones, a few new tablets. I think Windows 8 is going to be great. I mean, better than Windows Vista, definitely. I mean, the Metro UI, that's what you call innovation. I mean, even on Windows Phone 7, Mango, for example, which features the Metro UI, it's found on Nokia, by the way. That's just great. Oh, I also think the iPhone might have some connectivity with the iPhone, with the iPod Nano. Or- Of course, I remember that because of the Nokia Lumia 800, I think, which runs Windows 7, Windows Phone 7. It looks like a large iPod Nano, that Nokia. Uh, go search that up on the internet. But yeah, I mean, I think I Apple could do phones like that, cheap phones, look with cheap, colorful phones, simple phones that are like equivalent to the iPod Nano, and they're just cool. They're great. You can and then you can wear them on your wrist with a nano wristband, and then you can make phone calls like they do in the past. Hey man, where are you? Stuff like that. And yeah, you know what? We should have a 1 hour limit for this podcast. We're just 8 minutes left. Yeah, we'll feature this. You've all probably seen this Volkswagen commercial entitled "The Force." It's really cute. It's really funny. Well, it's really cute more than funny, I would say. But anyway, here we show you the making of that video, and that video is just a little over a minute long. Yeah, here it is. And finally, we go to the helpline. We don't have any phone calls or emails just yet. Instead, now we'll give you a Facebook gaming tip. Facebook gaming tip. I play Cityville a lot. My tip is use this other Facebook app. I think it's reliable, it's safe. It's called Autocollect Games Bonuses. Yeah, Autocollect Games Bonuses. It's at apps.facebook.com/autocollectbonuses. So that helps a lot. You get to help out a lot of people. You don't miss out on rewards. So you level up basically. You can use it on a lot of different games. Cityville is one. Sim Social, of course, is another. Bejeweled Blitz, Adventure World, Mafia Wars 1 and 2, Farmville, Farmtown. What else? The Smurfs, Treasure Isle. Basically, almost every single Facebook game out there. Empires and Alleys. It's the number one Facebook game. I forgot. Gardens of Time is the number one Facebook game. I heard. If you haven't heard yet. Yeah. So I hope you use that. You get to help your friends and neighbors and whatnot. Again, it's at apps.facebook.com/autocollectbonuses. It's great. I use it a lot. You get to help friends and you get to get a lot of rewards. You don't miss out on rewards. And that's our helpline segment for now. For Buzzline, of course, we don't have any buzz yet from our listeners. We don't have listeners yet, probably. But you can email us at me@RONJIE.com. That's our temporary email address, me@RONJIE.com, RONJIE.com. You can send us anything basically, but we'd like to hear we'd like to hear you answer the question, anong tech mo? So anong klaseng mga gadgets ang ginagamit nyo? It would be helpful if you tell us, what do you do for a living? Let's say if you're a pilot, or if you're a civil engineer, you're assigned to construction sites, or you're a blogger or whatnot. Tell us what kind of tech gadgets do you use and use often for your craft. And you can also send us voicemails. Find a way to record your voice and digitally, and then you can email us that audio file, or you can send us a video voicemail, record a video of yourself. You can try to email us your video, but we suggest uploading your video to YouTube or Vimeo or similar sites, and then send us a link to that video, and that would be great. We just ask that you limit your voicemails and video voicemails to 30 seconds, and we cannot guarantee that your email, voicemail, or video voicemail will be featured on the show in full or in part. Basically, if it's there's nudity or there's whatever that's we feel is not appropriate or inappropriate for the show, we won't show it. That's the show. Wow, I didn't believe. I never thought it would reach an hour. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Until the next episode of Puro Tech, all tech, no tech, whatever. For all Pinoys all around the world. My name is RONJIE.com. This is RONJIE.com. Yeah, that's my name. And We'll see you next soon. We'll see you next time